Hi guys, I'm Gail,
And I'm Russell.
and welcome to another episode of our podcast. Russell, what's on your mind today?
Well, what's on my mind today is, the coaching and mentoring courses are all fantastic, but the real life happenings of a relationship,
The comings and goings, the
yeah,
day-to-days. Yeah.
the stuff that really matters, implementation, if you like, of what we do, that's the trickier part for people. So what I wanted to talk about today was some stuff that happened with us earlier on in the week that I was aware of.
A really great demonstration as well.
Yeah, really fantastic understanding of how you can work together as a couple,
Or you can tear each other down.
how you can feel powerless as a woman,
Yeah.
And like your only option is to go to a masculine state, or how you can embrace the feminine and learn how to flow.
And if I can just add in there, for women, if your options are, and traditionally what we see most often is you're either in a feminine state, or you're in a mothering state, or you go to masculine state, or you're in little girl. Those tend to be where women rotate between. And the optimum state for us to be in is our feminine state. Whereas for men,
we go to obviously the masculine state, or we can go to a little boy state, or we can go to our feminine state. Or there's, and you can have even a needy state. A lot of people are needy men, but that's often from a little boy or a feminine state.
Yeah.
But there is you might identify it better if you're a man or if you're a woman looking at your man, because needy state is
he's
like
needy, you're like,
nobody likes that. No woman likes a needy state. No relationship will flourish if your man's in a needy state.
No.
Anyway, so what was I saying? So this is how you can occupy the feminine state, but still be leading. The feminine state's not weak. It's not inferior. It's not controlled. It's not controlling. It's just powerful in a different way.
Yeah.
So we're in this situation. We had this conversation, and Gail normally wouldn't share stuff with me after a conversation, and I'm often left wondering, what does she think about that? How does she feel? She doesn't share enough. There's not enough feedback because I'm auditory digital.
From his perspective as well, right? Whereas I'm kinesthetic and visual, so I'm feeling and processing, and it's internally all happening for me, which doesn't land as words.
Yeah, so we process information totally different. So I need words to understand what's going on, how she's feeling, to dissect any conversation topic or anything that we're talking about, right, babe? And she came up the other day. We had this conversation downstairs. Didn't go very well. I can't really remember what it was about now.
Point of tension. I wouldn't call it an argument because it wasn't an argument, but when the blood starts boiling and you can feel the adrenaline rush in your body and there's tension, you're like, hang on a second, something's got to be said here. That's what it felt like in my body anyways.
Yeah. And I knew I went upstairs with a kind of, that kind of subdued, pissed offness that comes when you're feeling like you're not getting what you need, or the relationship's not
let me just exit, right? Let me exit, and by exit, like go upstairs or leave the room.
Just
whatever it might
take
be.
myself unsatisfactorified out of the situation. Unsatisfactorily out of the situation. So I went upstairs and I'm sitting there. Now my normal experience, and I didn't realise this till after it had happened, but my normal experience is that Gail would just carry on about her business downstairs.
Well, and just to put it into what happens for me, normally I would just process how I was feeling on my own. Not feel like I had the space to go up and let rip, if you like, or just share what was going on for me. Sometimes that might land as let rip. Because it hadn't felt like I could go and do that of late with Russell. So it's like I would just process and move through it and let it go on my own.
Yeah.
In my own time.
Yeah.
And he would do his version of the other side of it.
Yeah, and then we might chat about it or
not.
Come together or whatever, But on this occasion, she came upstairs, which I was surprised about anyway, and she started sharing with me how it made her feel. Now, the first thing to know about that is I was already feeling like I hadn't got what I wanted from the initial conversation. And of course, I don't leave that conversation thinking I haven't got what I wanted, it must be my responsibility. I leave that conversation thinking I didn't get what I want, it's because there's something wrong with her. And that's one of the key principles we need to change around anyway. But to get the point here is, so when she comes up, I'm already feeling not satisfied by the conversation.
Yeah, you've already taken yourself out.
and childhood wounds, like hard done by, unfairly treated, not considered, unloved perhaps, whatever the childhood wounds might be there. And then so what happens is I'm sitting there, she comes up, starts sharing. Well, for a woman, when they share, they don't want to, if they're in the feminine specifically, they don't want to edit their information. They just want to share how they feel. They just want to say how it feels for them.
Raw, real, and unedited.
Yeah. And a lot of times that can come across, especially from my point of view, logical, as uncaring. Well, and I have that caring thing, that easily hurt thing as well. So a lot of times that can come across as uncaring for me, and like she doesn't love me or doesn't care about me. It's very easy, and this is the key takeaway, it's very easy for me to take it personally. It's very easy for me to take it as an attack. And once I take it as an attack, then my state changes. Now,
defenses all come up, if you like.
Yeah, and I stop being there. What she needs me to do in that moment, she needs me to be present. She needs me to focus on what she's saying. She needs to feel safe, because a woman's number one need is to feel safe and secure. So if she feels like I'm going down a darker tunnel because of what she's saying, she will stop saying it, or just feel, I don't know, is it not depleted, but just like you've got no space to share.
What is the point? He's just going to go into all about him and what I call it the woe is me.
Yeah, so
state.
she's named
I've
this
named
state.
this state because it's like woe is me. Like,
so if you can name your states as you observe them. Now, what's a state? Well, I'll get into that later, but just for now, naming your states is something I'm going to ask you to do. She's named that state as the woe is me state, which really resonates with me, makes perfect sense, and which means she can now call it out. So while she's sharing, she didn't actually call it the woe is me state.
Not till after when we were talking about it, right? Then I went, oh, it's like, it's the woe is me. And interesting, he said, what his response after I'd initially shared was, well, I don't really know what I can say about that. To which I could have just gone, right, okay, I'm not going to share, but I went, no, I'm actually going to share further. I'm like, well, that sounds like you're being arrogant and condescending in a response. You need to go away and consider what I've said. Because for me, I'm like, that's not on. Like,
and there was part of it that I was actually trying hard not to smile at, because I really kind of, it seemed abstract to me.
You did the smug laugh.
Yeah, I couldn't help it, because it just kind of didn't resonate with me, what she was saying. So there were two places I was going. Some of it didn't resonate at all, and I was kind of going, how did she get that from what I said? And
which makes no difference, by the way, gentlemen, if I can clarify, makes no difference if you don't get it or understand it or go, how did she take that from this? It's if you invalidate her experience in that moment, then you invalidate her, and you invalidate your relationship and the connectivity that you actually, the natural flow that you want to exist in your relationship. So don't worry if you can't, in man land, logicalize, and I totally know that's not grammatically correct, but you all know what I mean when I say it. If you can't logicalize what she's saying or have it make sense to you, you just have to trust that it makes sense to her.
Yeah, and it just points out and highlights how not only is the masculine and feminine totally different, we process and listen to information, but personalities are totally different.
Yeah.
So,
couple layers at play, but right now we're dealing with the masculine and feminine side of it.
Yeah.
And then we'll highlight the personality differences too.
And so, certainly there, what causes the conflict in relationships in the first place is a misunderstanding most of the time. So as she's sharing this back to me, I'm going, well, how did she get that out of that? That's not what I got. Now, of course, this is a conversation we had that didn't work out properly. So I want to share stuff about what I got out of it, because I'm feeling hard done by anyway. But men, this is not the time to do that.
No.
If you do that, you will just end up in another argument, arguing your point of view. My job in this instance is to hear her, listen to her, understand her, get her, validate her, and empathize with her, so I can fully get where she's coming from. Now, that was a little bit tricky in this case, because some of it I didn't get. I was like, well, how did she get that from this? Which then I immediately want to defend and say, God, how could you even get that from this? But don't do that. It's not about that. Don't say that. All it's going to do is it's going to make her feel like she can't share or talk.
Yeah.
So given that I didn't really get what she was saying, a lot of it, or understand it from her point of view,
Mm.
I was left in this space where I didn't have anything to come back with. And I said to her, and I'm like, I know she wants my input. You see, a woman needs input to feel safe and secure, to know that I'm listening, to know that she's being gotten.
Yeah, and I think because what you did say was, well, I've got what you said, but I didn't feel gotten in that moment because it was very like loose. It was not, his state was already in,
I don't understand.
I
It
don't
doesn't make sense to me.
understand. Woe is me. What is she even talking about? I have something to say about that. And fill in the blank. There's probably like layers and multiple states going on there. But then it.
Now, I wasn't in woe is me, by the way. I would have gone there had she have not called me out on it.
Yeah.
While she was sharing. So she can see the little drop in energy.
Mm-hmm.
And so she called me out on it. She said, don't go there. Don't go to that place. I'm sharing with you.
Yeah. And in fact, because that had been a complaint previously that he's like, well, you don't ever share about these things. I'm like, no, I'm sharing right now. And this is a complaint of yours. You don't get to now go into woe is me and make it all about you because this is actually me sharing.
And this is what you want.
This is what you've actually asked for. So, not happening.
So I listened. I got what she said as much as I could. And then, like she said, when we finished that, then she shared again. Till we got to a place where you felt gone, right? Or you felt like I'd heard. Well, I don't know.
Well, we actually paused that particular conversation as you need to actually just go away and process however you process what I've said.
Yeah.
Because that one needed, he needed in his manland moments to process or deal however he was going to deal with it.
What I realised after the conversation is that she hadn't shared with me for a long time about stuff. I don't know how long a long time is, a week, 2 weeks, a month, whatever it might be. But it only shows up when it was missing. But she hadn't been sharing with me. And what I realised is one of the reasons she doesn't share with me is because of what she has now named.
The woe is me state.
The taking it personally.
And taking it personally.
So those two things, the woe is me and the taking it personally, are the things I now have to be aware of and watch out for. Because that's my first go-to place is, my wound is unfairly treated.
It makes, sorry, I'm just giggling and laughing. I know you can't see that on the podcast, but if you're watching it back on the video, you can see me laughing. And I'm laughing because with Russell's woe is me state, I actually have a theme song. And so like every time I say woe is me, I'm like, what about me? It isn't fair. So that song by Shannon Knoll always comes into my mind as I think of his woe is me. So not only do I have a state form, but I actually have a theme song that plays in my mind, which actually
she thinks it was written about me.
I think the song was actually written about Russ. It's so accurate. But the thing is by one, naming it, and two, I have a theme song, it allows me to not then go into my version of defending that he's gone to that state and being right about that he's in that state. It actually allows for me to like laugh, right? Which is a total state changer. Breathe into my body when I say it, because it's the moment I laugh, you're taking a bigger breath, and it allows me to actually be more playful with him as we're moving through if he goes there, right? So like when I'm like, no, don't go there, all I can hear in my head is the theme song, right? What about me, right? So like it allows for a total state change, a kinesthetic full body state change, because I've got like a song going on in my mind, I've named the state, and it's very clear. So just as like pointers is not that you guys all need a theme song for every state that your partner does, but just know that there are things that naturally come out that allow a state change, and a state change in me, right? And by calling it out, it creates a state change in him as well. So
let's briefly, it probably needs a bit more attention, but let's briefly describe what an emotional state is. We all have access to over 3,000 emotional states every single day. Most of the time we will fall into 12 daily that we flop between. Out of those 12, 8 of our emotional states are negative. But what we have a subconscious belief is that it's the external world that creates our internal state. Yeah. And it's actually the other way around. It's
what you do makes me operate and act and behave in this way, versus I can actually generate and create my state regardless of what's going on out there. So regardless of, in this instance, what Russell's doing, me, Gail, I can actually choose and have my state show up differently.
So we have what we call a shift protocol, which teaches this. Is one of the key elements of what we teach is how you can be.
It's very powerful, the shift protocol. When you get it.
Yeah.
Right.
Being able to master your emotional state in any environment, in wealth, business, your work, what you do,
Your
your
relationship,
relationship with your kids, with fitness, with
any area,
training,
essentially.
any
Like, it
area in
doesn't matter
life.
what you're talking, any area. Once you get the shift protocol and you get how to shift your emotional state, you have power, like massive power. And I'm not talking like, oh, cool, these little, like, I'll actually go to the gym. I mean, like, crazy cool power, like in
Yeah.
your own life. You become like the master of your own life.
And so even if
Ooh,
sometimes
the
like
master of your own destiny.
master, able to create possibility
Yeah, you
is
can
what it
create
gives you.
possibility.
Rather than, in this instance, when your gal sharing with me, there's a couple of possibilities. I can be present. I can be in my masculine state. I can be there for her. I can give her the focus she needs, the presence, or I can go to a woe is me state and be almost useless to her, to be honest with you, which will cause more arguments. And they're two different states, and I can do it by focusing on, how
If he's
hard done by I am.
Yeah, and if he's focusing on what I'm saying and making it mean something about him versus going, no way, wow, this is my partner's, this is how she's interpreted and how she's carrying this thing and like what's going on for her. So instead of being curious, because there's a curiosity that you have to
Yeah.
exude with your partner, a curiosity, like being over there with her or him, depending on which way you're going. But in this instance, for him, being over there with me, that changes again your state. It's like it's actually not. It's got nothing to do with him. He may be the catalyst for why it showed up, but that's not the point. The point is this is how I feel.
Massive takeaway there, right? Her sharing what she shared in that instance was mostly about me and what I perhaps wasn't providing, wasn't doing, where I wasn't perhaps showing up. But it has nothing to do with me. It's not personal like that, especially for her. I mean, she may need me to change some of the behaviors, but that's another conversation.
Yeah.
I need behavioral change here. Is a different conversation to when you don't empty the dishwasher. I feel like I'm doing all the work and carrying all the burden of the kitchen when I do most of the cooking anyway. That sounds like it's like an attack on me for not emptying the dishwasher. But in that moment, it's not an attack. It's her sharing how she feels. And it's a really critical, important distinction to make and get. There's a difference between her saying, this is a behavioral issue for me that I need to see changing.
And I think often people ask us the question, what do you mean when it's like I'm like carrying the emotional weight? Him making that mean something about him is putting the emotional weight back on me to then deal with, not only like process, move through like on my own, but then deal with the whole scenario. So it's like, here, lump, now you deal with it. So that's a really great example of the emotional weight then shifting, because then if he can't hold space or not make it about him, then the emotional weight shifts over to then I've got to deal with it, and he's not available to then move through it with me. It becomes a I have to deal with, which is a weight and a killer of feminine state, really.
Yeah, and so most men, because men are in are their natural places fixing and solving problems, because of this dynamic in a relationship, most women aren't sharing what's going on. And this is what I noticed. As soon as Gail shared this with me, I know why she hasn't been sharing lately. And obviously stopped sharing because she felt like I couldn't deal with it or wasn't dealing with it in a way that she felt that I got her.
Yeah. And then we actually then got to have a conversation about that. He's like, wow, no way. Which is interesting because if Russell had heard himself in one of his complaints that you're not sharing enough, that could have been a key thing. Like the moment he says it doesn't feel like you're sharing here, that should have triggered a warning bell. Like, hang on a second, what? The very thing you wanted was me to share. Well, I actually have power in creating a space for my partner to feel like she wants to share. That it's not his responsibility to allow to make it so that I do share, but he is part of this relationship. Therefore, he has the power to shift it. Equally, I have the power to shift and notice, like I did that morning when I went, hang on a second, nope, I'm not moving. I could totally move through this, deal with it, come back to the relationship in a really great space. But no, I'm actually not going to. I'm going to give us both this opportunity to grow and evolve in our relationship together.
And I know, like, one of the cornerstones of the relationship entity is communication. One of the things I'll often ask couples when I'm talking to them is, how would you rate your communication? And they go like, 7, 8, 9.
Mm.
And I know it's a 2 or a 3.
Yeah.
And so after a conversation with them briefly, they realize that there's lots of withheld communications, lots of stuff they're not saying, lots of things they're not asking for.
And not saying, but not even noticing.
Yeah.
Communication, guys, is not just the words that are coming out of your mouth. It's like seeing the body language, what's going on over there. Like if you break down communication, like it's not just the words. Words actually make up a small portion of what is actually going on. And I think when we talk about withheld communication, it's not just withheld words coming out of your mouth, but it's like, hey, mate, did you actually notice that your partner is struggling right now and you haven't seen any of it? Like, that's a withheld communication.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're blind to not seeing it and they're not sharing, both those things are a withheld communication.
Yeah. So on this level, she came and shared with me. I listened. I got what I got. What score would I give myself out of 10 now? Well, I'd probably give myself about a 6. I'd give myself a 6 because I was able to be there and be present and obviously be solid enough that she felt she could share. While she was sharing, I was able to notice the woe is me state and the taking it personally and continue to let go of it, because I was able to give that up and then continue to listen to her, which allowed her to keep releasing the emotional weight. Women regulate by sharing. So the whole time she's sharing, she's regulating her body. So
if I can give you a visual description of the internal mechanisms of my body, imagine there's like a massive rainstorm blowing, the wind, the pelting of rain. You might have some hail. All that's going on when we'd had the initial discussion where he'd exited the kitchen and went upstairs and I stayed in the kitchen, and then all that was going on internally. As I walk up the stairs, part of that starts to go from like the hail pelting everywhere to just a rainstorm, to then me speaking to Russell, to, the rain starting to slow down or to ease up, to then being able to breathe, to going like, hang on a second, he didn't quite get me there. Okay, right, the rain's picking up again. Okay, to then sharing what was going on for me again in that moment to allow the rain to subside, to then get to a point where it's just like trickling down. Right. So if that's kind of like a metaphorical description of the internal mechanisms of inside my body in that conversation.
Nice. So I got that much, and I got that. But what didn't I do there? Okay, so what I didn't do is I didn't validate what was going on for her. I might have done a little bit after the initial, I don't really get what you're saying, but I didn't validate it. I didn't empathize with it. I didn't fully understand it. She didn't fully feel gotten in the first instant. So there's lots of other things I could have done there to take that 6 up to a 7 or an 8. I did manage to not get too much down in my funk and stay, not take it personally. So that was really great. But I could have been in a better place where I didn't even consider taking it personally. And so where we didn't have to deal with that at all. And I think that's, obviously for everyone, that's practice. It's always practice. This whole thing is practice. This whole communication gig in a relationship is all practice.
And I think it's important to say as well, like, so later on that day, I think it was, we actually had a conversation in the kitchen again. And I was like, yeah, I'm so proud of me, right? That's me acknowledging me. I'm so proud of me for coming to share, and 2, not letting you off the hook, right? That became a conversation that we had. So I know we work and train in this, but it's important to have those aftermath, if you like, conversations that we both, like, I just acknowledged myself, but I acknowledged myself out loud to Russell. So it's like, I'm so proud of me for coming to share. And he was like, yeah, I didn't realize that, like the thing I was asking for was for you to come and share, but the thing getting in the way of you coming to share was me. Right. Like, and so like both people get a space to see something from a different perspective. And I think people often probably just assume that you just move through it and there's no aftermath conversation, but there's little comings and goings that happen that we do naturally, that you want to input into your relationship, because it is you got to be able to toot your own horn. You got to notice where you can be proud of you and you can acknowledge you out loud to your partner, because that is important. You're reinforcing to your nervous system that, damn, I did good. I want to do good again.
And I could see how I hadn't been present or being present enough for her to be able to share now as well, which then brings some awareness to that, which I can then do stuff about changing that. Which brings me on to the next part of it, which is you can be kind of reactive in a relationship communication zone, or you can be proactive. You can be reactive and even reactive in a positive way when she
Mm.
shares and takes off the emotional weight, or you can be there looking for it, ready for it, like a curiosity.
Mm.
And so we're in this situation where we're in the UK at the moment, and her niece is getting married in Canada,
Mm.
which is a big deal for obviously everyone. Um, she started having this conversation about whether or not she should go back for the wedding, right?
I think like maybe a week ago, and I had a quick little flick, and I'm like, oh gosh, like at that point in time, I was like, whoa, flights were like stupid expensive. So I was like,
Yeah.
okay, not an option. I kind of just like had parked it. And originally we were meant to be in Australia right now. So I'd already like in my mind, I'd already like thought, oh, well, I wouldn't go back to the wedding because we would be in Australia. That's a bigger flight. But now, as it turns out, we're actually in the UK, which is much smaller, like 7.5 hour flight. So much more doable. But even like, a week, 10 days ago, I was like, not possible. But that kind of just sat with me. And I still shared with Russell. I didn't actually need to. I'd done all this like quick have a look for myself, but I shared with him, hey, I had a look and this is where we're up to. And this is kind of what I'm feeling about that. But that little drop of the pebble in the pond, sharing with Russell, opened up something else.
Yeah, so straight away, as soon as she shares that, she doesn't want me to fix her. She doesn't want me to tell her what to do. She doesn't want me to say,
No.
oh, you need to go, you have to go. What she wants me to do is she wants me to be present, take an interest, listen, and understand what's going on, and like be a detective and understand. I actually knew where she was at emotionally before she did, but I held a space that allowed her to work her way through it.
Important key there, gentlemen. If you can see for your partner where she's at emotionally. Like if Russell had said to me, oh, I can see that you really feel like you need to go there, that would have interrupted the natural flow of me getting to where I needed to get to for myself at an emotional level. And in fact, it likely would have interrupted and had it gone sour, if you like.
Yeah.
So it's important from an awareness point of view is not to interrupt somebody's flow of their emotional process, but instead go, oof, like kind of keep the little nugget in your mind. Oh, I can see where she's at emotionally. Let me just hold some space here.
Yeah, and I have some skill in this area, no doubt, because I've been practicing doing it for so long.
Really?
Yeah, I do.
Funny
Baby.
that one.
Yeah.
Crazy,
So,
right?
but equally, I don't want to be right about I know
No.
how she feels. There's nothing wrong in someone starting to tell you how you feel.
No,
There's nothing
there's
worse than that.
nothing worse, because then it's almost like then the fuck you don't tell me how I feel, regardless if it's how I actually feel, would likely come out, right?
So I was more curious as to, okay, I think this is where she's at. I think I've got a handle on this. But what she needs me to do is she needs me to be there with her, talk her, not leave her on her own to handle it, which she can. She's more than capable of doing that.
Yeah.
She would have decided on her own, one way or another, what she was going to do. But what it takes here is it takes you as a man wanting to give input. See, we're naturally the providers. This is one of the things we do not provide over and over again. And when your partner, when your woman feels, we can provide all sorts of material stuff, but if your partner doesn't feel supported, they'll leave the relationship or exit.
And FYI, gentlemen, the emotional support and space you provide for your woman, and hear this very clearly, far exceeds the amount of money or the amount of work you do to create the stuff, the physiological stuff in the relationship. Not that you can be like, you need to have attention on both, but it far supersedes in terms of what they feel like in the relationship when you emotionally get them and hold space. Like that is worth its weight in gold.
Yeah. Yeah, so in this situation, again, I was there, I was present, I was listening, I was focused, I was in a masculine state. She worked through what she needed to.
Well, yeah, then a few days ago, I was kind of like toying with it again, and I had another little look, and I'm like, okay, so this is kind of where it's at. This is what it would look like. What are your thoughts? And then we worked through the moving parts. But it was then also in a further conversation, then allowing the space for me to like have the emotional cookie that was there. I don't know that I could name the cookie just yet, but I'm not at that space. But I know there was an emotional cookie there, that Russell just had to hold space for the moment the emotion came out as to how important this actually was for me, right, and how much I needed it for me.
Emotions are so important as well. Just going, I know we move around a few areas, but I noticed when the emotional cookie came out, she was crying. You were crying about
Mm,
that, right? There was a release of emotion for her.
purge.
I was right there. I could have perhaps put my hand on her shoulder,
Oh, that would have taken away from it.
but do you
Just so
know
just
what?
so you
Would
know.
it? I
So
wasn't sure.
thank you for not, because the
Yeah.
not touching me in that moment, and it's a delicate fine line, guys. So you can get it right and wrong. So don't
Mm,
beat yourself up if you get it wrong. But like sometimes you have to just have discernment and notice that what that person needs is to actually feel all the feels in that moment.
mm.
And so you thank you for not
No
cuddling
worries.
me
You're
and not
welcome.
touching me in that moment, because it was kind of like I needed a minute to
To
feel what I was,
purge,
to purge and feel what I was feeling. I didn't need him
to make it better,
to make it
soothe
better for
her.
me, soothe
Oh,
me,
it's
to
okay, darling. You'll be all right.
like there's nothing
You've
wrong.
booked it now.
I think this is the point. There's nothing wrong with feeling all the feels. And it doesn't require somebody fixing or making it better for you. In fact, allowing yourself to feel the feels without trying to fix it and just be with it and move with it allows for a greater release than if somebody goes, "Oh, it's okay," or
Yeah.
"I've got you, you'll be fine." So I think that that's important as well, especially for women. One, you don't need to understand what it's about. If you do, great. But if you don't, you don't have to go on a like mission to figure out what it's about, but actually allow yourself to be with and fully feel the feels.
Yeah.
Mm.
And then I think then a few days later, or I think the day later or something, she wanted to share something else or to do something else. I don't know what it was, but then she became playful with me. And
Yeah, I
I'm,
don't know that I consciously knew that I wanted to share something, but we were
this,
putting the kids to bed, and so I was just being playful with Russell and tickling. And of course, the girls are howling, right? Because I think it's hilarious because mommy's playing with daddy, and daddy's cackling, like that cackle laugh that kids do, and they're like it's like
I
that
think you better
uncontrollable.
clarify playing with daddy with the kids there, just so we
Oh,
get clear about that. They're fully clothed playing with daddy, right?
like
Having fun playing with
fun
daddy.
playing, right? There's no sexual anything in this, of course, because that would be freaking weird. Like that would be insane, right? So like we're just being playful, and the kids were laughing because daddy was laughing and cackling. Like it was very playful, fun, and they're both like, oh, they loved it, right? It's like a playful, fun energy. Um, and I don't think I knew consciously. Obviously, subconsciously, I knew that there was stuff in the background for me to share, but my subconscious like popped up enough for me to go like I need to be playful with Russell, because then later what happened is the kids had gone to bed and we'd gone out to the living room, and he said to me, "Why are you being so mean to me today?" And like that was an opening for it all to come out. And of course his sister's out there too, and she's observing all this, quiet
Agreeing with her.
agreeing and quietly pissing herself laughing as well, going
I'm like 10 minutes later, she's still going on, going, okay, fuck, we wish you hadn't asked that question.
well, yeah, because then of course, well, he's opened the space, so then I let loose. Like I'm like, well, these are all the things. This is where you've let me down today. This is where you haven't shown up. This is what's happened. And all the words start coming out, and then we started watching our show, and then paused the show, and then more came out, and he's gone like, I asked you like 20 minutes ago what was happening. And his sister goes, well, you asked her. Do you think she's not going to get it all out? Like, are you insane? Like, you asked, therefore you're going to get. So, gentlemen, no, if you ask, you get to get. And then look at it as great privilege. It's actually an honor and a privilege to accept and hear all of the comings and goings. And if she's willing to actually
No, I'm not asking you to actually feel like it's a great
but it
privilege.
is
Okay,
because
that's great if you can, but I don't know if I'm at that level, but okay.
because what you're doing is he's allowing me the space to say all the things. 99% of those things there's nothing for him to do with, but if I don't get to share them, I'm holding those somewhere inside my body, which is like interrupting my flow and my space. And like, so not sharing them comes at a cost to me, which ultimately comes at a cost to the relationship. So when I say it's great privilege and an honor to be able to like have all those words come out, it is because then what you get is you get your whole partner. You don't get your partner with this bubble of shit that she hasn't actually shared for the day, week, month, year, 10 years of your relationship. You actually get all of her. And that's what you want, gentlemen. Like, you want all of her. You don't want her with all these bubbles of stuff she hasn't shared, because I promise you, you will feel shortchanged.
Sometimes I wonder if I'd be better off with 95%, honey. No, that's not true. I want all of it. Is that accurate? Oh, that wasn't. I shouldn't have said that.
He
I'll pay for that later. No, baby, I want all of you. Always, 100%, honey. So what's really important?
doesn't know I know, but I'm going to get his ass on that shit later. Jokes. Not
What's
jokes.
what's important? What's important here, though, is a couple of things that are important for me to identify. First of all, like women often feel like their man will. Now, I said the woe is me state, but as men, as a relationship, you want to talk about this. We do this thing called the relationship check-in, and you should be checking in probably 15 minutes every day, right?
At least.
But
15 minutes is the minimum, right? Like that's bare minimum. Means you're like just scraping the barrel of an actual relationship, regardless if you're married or not, right? Like, excuse me, 15 minutes a day is like bare minimum.
So one of the things we encourage people that we coach and work with is that they do at least a 15-minute a day check-in.
Yeah.
But for a lot of people, that's a huge step from virtually no communication, no real communication at all. So, we'll take 15 minutes a week to start with even, right? And then we'll keep trying to build, we'll keep building it from there.
Right? So don't build.
But you want to get the hang, because most of the time, most people can't even do a 15-minute check-in.
Yeah.
It ends up in a 3-minute check-in and then an argument.
Yeah.
Because you always feel like what she says or what I say
is
like reactive.
15 minutes of silence and the crickets are going because neither person wants to speak.
So it's an art form. I've got it, and we teach that, and you can learn that. But why was I saying that? I can't remember. 15-minute check-in.
But it's important because then you get.
I don't know. I lost my track. I'll go back to what I was going to talk about it before anyway. So in this case, because what I wanted to identify was, for me, it's the woe is me state is one of the states. Unfairly treated is one of the wounds. We want to talk about those things and out them. So as a man, are you a withdrawer? Are you stubborn? Do you stonewall?
Are you sulky and silent?
Do you have
well, are you woe is me?
Is it always about you?
Yeah.
Are you driven to success? As a woman, are you helpless? Are you a victim?
Are you into drama?
Are you a what's that thing? A doormat?
Doormat, yeah.
Are you too controlling? Aggressive, too assertive?
I would just take out the two. It's like, are you controlling? Controlling, just so that side note, women, when you're into control, that completely kills your feminine state. It's one of the telltale signs that if you're feeling any level of control, then you're not in flow and you're not in feminine state.
Are either of you overcritical or overly judgmental? These things, these are in your relationship, right? And they sit there like this sack of shit between you because you won't discuss them.
Yeah.
And honestly, even if we knew nothing else, the fact that if there's something in our sack of shit, one of us will call it out is taking the relationship from 50% to a 60% easily. It's probably more powerful than that.
And
just
the moment
being
you
able
actually
to call it out,
it takes away the power, right? Like calling out woe is me takes away the power of that. It becomes fun and playful and funny because we now joke about it, but it's like it takes its energy and its power out of the relationship, and then it gives the power back to the actual relationship entity.
It also makes me feel like ridiculous. Like, why would I bother doing
it? What about me? It isn't fair, right? Like that will change for him. That's going to anchor it in over and over that it's not something that's great for him. It's kind of like he keeps pointing out that my inner critic and my criticism and the voices that, like, for me, that's plays over and over, and it doesn't feel nice, guys. Like, he doesn't feel nice when I call him woe is me and when I sing that song for him, but it takes the sting and the energy and the power out of it, which then gives the power back to him, power back to our relationship to then move forward. Same with him pointing out the criticism, and then me actually bringing awareness to it as well and calling out when, that really landed as critical or that didn't sound critical. That doesn't mean for Russell to stop sharing what he's sharing about me either, because he actually said that to me one time, like, I don't want to say anything because I feel like it's going to land as criticism. I'm like, well, that's not the point. The point is I'm bringing awareness to myself as to what I interpret as critical. Or a criticism. It's not about you. It's just about me bringing awareness to that too. So again, that's another conversation about, hey, I'm actually bringing attention to something I'm working through that doesn't work for me in my day-to-day life. And, So please bring it, like do the things and be
Mm.
willing to share all the things that I feel are critical, because that's allowing me to then see it from a different perspective.
So you should look and sit down and have your 15-minute relationship check-in. And what we'll do is
Mm.
we'll throw some shorts up on YouTube,
Mm.
instructional videos on how to do that 15-minute relationship check-in in
Yeah.
a powerful way that keeps you open to listening.
Which is the infinite method
Yeah.
on YouTube.
Yeah. Yeah. The Infinite Method
Like
TV,
and
isn't it?
subscribe. Yeah.
Yeah. So what's I saying?
The relationship check-in.
Yeah. So you did relate, but it's important so you can learn the states that you're calling out. So that takes the power out of the state, and that's the important part to get here. As soon as you can name it, even if it's without, say your man's withdrawing or stonewalling. I know you're going to likely stonewall me during this conversation, but I need to share something with you.
Yeah.
So I'd really appreciate it if you could stay here and at least listen.
Yeah. It's the name it to tame it, right? If
Yeah.
you name it, you can tame it. You can actually call it out and take your power back, right?
Instead of being a victim of it in the relationship or yourself.
Ask yourself this question: how many of you like feeling powerless in your life? I'll bet none of you say, oh yeah, me totally. I love feeling that way. Well, the way to stop feeling so powerless and like you can't make change in your life is to take your power back. And how you do that is start calling out and naming some of the ways that you show up in your relationship, and allowing your partner as well to go like, hey, this is I'm calling it out. This is it. Right. And some people wouldn't want to call that out, because then that's going to lead to an argument, or they feel like they need to tiptoe around on eggshells and not say the thing. Well, that's not working in your relationship. It's time to start calling them out.
And I'd like you to just clarify something here for the feminine state, honey, if you can. When you deliver the woe is me, if you're delivering it from a masculine state, like controlling, like you can't stand it if I go there and it's going to cause something bad to happen with you.
Okay, so that would look like this. I can actually just do it. That's the woe is me state. How does that feel?
That's very attacking, and I would feel defensive.
Babe, that was the woe is me. What about me?
That feels playful, light, right, and fun.
It's very different, and it's a lot of it is in the tonality and the physiological way that it lands. So it is all the voice tone and how I'm feeling in my body when I deliver it. If I'm feeling like I want to criticize and condemn and knock him down, I'm going to be short, sharp, and like beating him with a stick, right? That's not the feminine state.
You're much
and I know some people actually, sorry.
No, you're right.
Some people actually say, well, if I don't deliver it that way, I can't get an outcome with my partner. And I'm calling bullshit on that. You actually don't know what the feminine state is if you think that you have to do it that way in order to get an outcome. You're doing it that way, but you're actually emasculating your man in the process, which is actually killing your relationship at a different level. So yes, you might be getting shit done and he might actually be taking it on, but you are killing your relationship just from you're going in the back door to kill it and emasculating your man. So playful and fun and flowing and
not attached to the outcome is
I'm not
critical.
attached to him like getting it. Actually, I'm pretty sure the first time I talked about it, not this time, but the first time I mentioned his woe is me state, he went, I don't get that. Like it didn't resonate for him. So it's not always going to land the first time you say it that they're going to go, oh yeah, that makes sense. Right? Sometimes it's going to take a few times of being playful till they actually grasp it and see it. And I might not be right. It may not be a woe is me state. He might actually go like, oh, that's this. And I think that's happened the other way as well. Like Russell will say, oh, that's your unsupported thing going on. But those words don't resonate with me. So until I figure out what the words are with the context that he's saying, it won't emotionally hit me as a wanting change. So, but that doesn't mean I dismiss it. I still go like, I understand the context of what he's saying. At some point it will drop in, just like the woe is me state has dropped in. It's very clear. Like he can feel it and I can see it, but just because I've said it's that doesn't mean that's the actual state. So be open that they might go, actually, like, I understand what you're saying, but it actually feels like this. Yeah.
And so then you've got this opportunity from the feminine state to prepare, set up, get your man in a great state. That's how you can lead the relationship.
Yeah.
And this is what Gail did the other day with being playful with me when we were putting the kids to bed. It got me in a great space and a great state to be able to then
share all the things I
ask her what she needed to say.
Where it felt like for me that he'd let me down that day.
Yeah, instead of being a victim of it and going, oh, he never listens, he's always takes it personally, he does this, he does that, and I can't share anything. going into that victim mode. She took responsibility for her own well-being, if you like, her own need to share it. She may not have done it consciously, but it doesn't make any difference. It's still saying, I'm going to get him in a great state, then I can share what I need to share with him.
And the key there is like taking ownership, accountability, and being responsible for how you show up, right? If something's not working in your relationship, the person you want to like take ownership for is you. It's not your partner. And I'm not saying they don't have a part, but the way to make change is not to change them, is to go, where can I be responsible for this? Where can I take ownership? Where can I be accountable? Where can I shift who I'm being and not expect any change over there? And it doesn't matter if it's 99% Russell and 1% me. If I go responsible for that 1% that is me, that will make 99% of the difference and completely shift and alter whatever it is you're working through in your relationship. And like, I know that all of you will want to argue to the death that that's not the reality, but I promise you, we've seen this hundreds of thousands of times in countless relationships in our own lives with people when we observe them. And it is always, 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 always the case. If you go responsible and accountable for your part, whatever the percentage is that is your part, that can completely change and transform your relationship. The problem is people don't want to become aware of their part in it, because naturally human beings want to point the finger over there. So this is the point the finger back at you and go, hang on a second, he may be doing X, Y, Z, but how am I being? Where can I shift and alter? And let me try this way. Oh, let me try that way. Let me keep going until I figure out a way that actually does allow me to get through.
You can harden and step in your masculine state from a feminine point of view, and most of the time, 95%, 99% of the time, that doesn't work. It's exhausting, depleting, and destroys relationships.
And
or you can
physiologically, it's depleting on your body as a woman as well. If you're somebody who notices you get sick and you get exhausted and burnt out and you feel like you're carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders, these are all telltale signs of your body actually screaming at you that you're in the wrong emotional state. And I promise, I have tested the shit out of it years ago, in how I showed up and who I beat, and like physiologically and medical conundrums with doctors that they couldn't figure out why. But if I look back on what was going on in my life in those points in time in my life, I was very much operating in a controlling masculine state, and my life just wasn't working and didn't flow. And take that on the chin or not, but I've seen it not just for myself, but I've experienced it for myself, and I see it all the time with women. So, and ladies, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. That exhausted, overwhelmed, feel like you're carrying the weight of the world. The buck stops with you. It's all that weight is emotional weight that you don't need to carry.
So I think we can wrap it up with a couple of takeaways to obviously have the relationship check-in, but to work out, okay, what are the states that you go to that don't serve the purpose that you want to get to?
Start with one or two, right? Don't I mean, go ahead, make a list of 10, but when start with one or two. What are the big ones? What are the ones that you notice about you? And then what are the ones you notice about your partner? And then let your partner go, what do they notice about them? And what do they notice about you? And then share, but make sure when you share which ones you notice about your partner, that you drop your defenses. And this is not your partner being mean or condemning and criticizing you. This is an opportunity for you to see something that you may be missing. They may see one of your blind spots that you don't see. So take it on, be curious, be open, hear what they've got to say, and then work out, does that fit?
Yeah, and I don't know if we have the link for the YouTube channel, but we need to work out how to put that up in the comment here.
It actually is at the bottom. It is at the bottom of every single podcast. There's a link to all of our things.
Yeah.
All of our,
and then also, like, if they want to comment, they can comment through DM on the Instagram page.
At It's Infinite.
Let me know your states. Let me know your states that you think you go to. Let me know your states you think your partner goes to.
Yep.
Let me know what you can move and what might be some more productive states to be able to get what you want.
Or if you don't know what would be a productive state, ask the question.
Yeah.
You don't have to figure this all out on your own. You're not alone.
Yeah, I know for myself, just seeing Gail share these things and be this way in the last week or so, what it does for me is it's, you could say, well, I don't want as a woman to put that energy and effort in. I feel like I'm already putting enough energy and effort in. But what it's done for me is it's allowed me to see some things that I wasn't doing that now I'm encouraged to do and want to do naturally. So she may have put she didn't put any effort into that.
Well,
I mean, like,
it doesn't actually take me more energy.
takes
It
less,
frees up
actually.
energy by being able to share, by opening myself up, creating that space, and being willing to. It actually frees up and opens up space. So it's counterintuitive to
Yeah,
what
it
you
is.
think it's going
Yeah,
to be.
that's a good word. I was looking for that word.
Counterintuitive.
Yeah, counterintuitive. That you put that little bit in that doesn't really take any more, and it gets a
Actually
much better
frees up
result.
bigger
Frees up.
space.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Really cool. So, anything else for you, Bob? I think we covered what
Yeah.
we wanted to there. Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay.
See you guys next time.
Lovely. Thank you, guys. Bye bye.